The sky over Earth turned dark, not from clouds but from something far worse. An alien fleet had arrived. People across the world stared at the strange shapes in the sky. Massive ships hovered silently above cities, deserts, oceans, and forests. They weren't like anything humans had ever seen. Smooth metal surfaces, glowing symbols, and no sound except the occasional low hum. Inside one of those ships, Commander Dravak of the Zynar Empire looked down at Earth. He stood tall, with silver armor and 4 glowing eyes. Around him, his soldiers, tall, armored and confident, waited for his command. "This is the planet?" Dravak asked, his voice sharp. "Yes, Commander," replied his second-in-command. "Called Earth. A minor species lives here. They are not united. They fight among themselves. We expect no resistance." Dravak smirked. "Then it will be over. Quickly, send the message." A broadcast was sent in every language Earth could understand. The message was simple. "You are now part of the Zynar Empire. Do not resist, surrender your leaders, obey, or be destroyed." For a few minutes there was silence, no reply. The aliens waited. Then, a human voice answered the broadcast, calm, firm, and clear. "We don't surrender." The message came from a human military base in North America. It was General Harper who had spoken, a man in his late 50s with gray hair and calm eyes. He had seen war, real war. His officers looked at him with concern. "Sir," one said, "they have technology far beyond ours." Harper nodded. "Maybe, but we have something they don't." "What's that?" He looked them straight in the eye. "Heart." Commander Dravak ordered a small group of his best soldiers to land near the human base. Their job was to show strength and force a surrender. They believed it would be easy. The alien dropship landed with a loud thud. Dust flew into the air as the ramp lowered, revealing 6 tall Zynar soldiers. Their armor shimmered, their weapons hummed with power. Human soldiers stood ready outside the base. They were quiet but alert. No one moved. No one panicked. From the center of the group, a single human stepped forward. He wasn't wearing heavy armor, no glowing weapons, just a simple uniform and a calm face. Dravak watched through a screen, amused. "Who is this one?" he asked. "Just a soldier," came the reply. The alien commander laughed. "Then this will be fun." The alien soldiers aimed their weapons, but before they could fire, the human moved. In one quick motion, he pulled something from his belt, a small object that exploded with light and sound. The aliens were blinded for a moment. In that second, the human rushed forward. He grabbed the nearest alien by the arm, twisted and slammed him to the ground. The others tried to react, but the human was fast, too fast. He ducked, rolled, grabbed an alien weapon, and used it against them. In less than 30 seconds, 4 aliens were down. The last 2 stepped back, shocked. The human didn't chase them. He stood still and said, "This is your last chance, go home." Dravak watched in disbelief. His elite team, defeated by one unarmored human? Who is this warrior? He demanded. The answer came moments later from the human communication feed. That was Sergeant Cole, trained on Earth, no special powers, just human. Dravak felt something he hadn't felt in years. Doubt. Back in space, a meeting was held. Aboard the flagship, alien officers argued. "They are too weak," one shouted. "No, did you see what happened?" another said. "He took down 6 of ours without armor." Commander Dravak raised his hand. Silence fell. "This is no ordinary species," he said slowly. "There is more to these humans than we expected. We will need to study them further." On Earth, Sergeant Cole sat quietly in the mess hall, drinking water. Other soldiers clapped him on the back, but he didn't smile. He just looked out the window at the sky. "They'll be back," he said quietly. A young soldier nearby asked, "Are we ready?" Cole nodded. "We've always been ready. We don't run, we fight." In another part of the world, civilians were preparing too. Not with weapons, but with courage, People boarded up windows, shared food, checked on neighbors. They weren't soldiers, but they were ready to protect their home. Humanity had many flaws, fighting each other, making mistakes. But when threatened by an outside force, they stood together. The alien invaders didn't expect that. They expected fear, but what they got was fire. The Xynar Empire was confused. Earth was supposed to be an easy target, but their first team had been defeated by one human. That was not normal. That was not expected. Commander Dravak stood inside the strategy room of the alien flagship. His 4 eyes blinked slowly as he looked at the screen. It showed the fight between Sergeant Cole and his soldiers again and again. The alien officers sat around him, silent and tense. How can one human defeat trained Xynar warriors? Dravak asked. No one answered. Finally, one scientist stood up. Commander, I suggest we study the humans before sending more troops. Let us bring some of them aboard for combat tests. Then we'll know their weaknesses. Dravak agreed. Do it. But choose carefully. I want strong ones. Fighters, not politicians. On Earth, Sergeant Cole had become a name whispered with respect among soldiers. But to Cole, he was just doing his job. He didn't care about fame. One morning, he was called to the main base. Cole, General Harper said, they've sent a request. They want a few of our best to join their friendly tests on their ship. They claim it's for peace. I think it's a trap. Cole nodded. I'll go. You sure? Yes, sir. If they want to see what we're made of, we'll show them. A few hours later, Cole and 4 other human soldiers were transported to the alien ship under strict peace terms. They entered a massive training chamber, made of glowing metal and strange symbols. Alien soldiers and officers stood around watching. A tall female alien stepped forward. She had dark green skin and her sharp eyes didn't blink once. Her name was Commander Vena, the Xynar combat tactician. Welcome, humans, she said. Today we observe your fighting styles. You will face different combat simulations. This is not a war. It is a study. Cole gave a small smile. Studying can be dangerous. The first test began. A simulation chamber lit up. It created a virtual jungle full of traps and enemies. A place where survival depended on quick thinking. The human soldiers moved like they were born for it. Crawling through mud, using cover, building makeshift tools, setting traps. Within minutes, they defeated the enemies and navigated the terrain. The aliens were shocked. Are they trained in such wild places? Vena asked. Xynar Scout replied, yes, some of their training happens in places called rainforests, deserts, even frozen lands. Vena narrowed her eyes. So they train for every possible condition. In the second test, the humans faced combat robots. These machines had speed and strength beyond any living creature. The aliens expected the humans to lose. But the humans didn't fight with just muscle. They used teamwork. One human distracted the robots while another used the environment to disable them. One soldier climbed above to drop debris on the machines. Another disabled the control system using wires and tools. Within 8 minutes, the robots were down. Commander Dravak watched the results. They fight like a pack of animals. One officer, said. Dravak corrected him. No, they fight like survivors. Every move they make is about living one more second. During a break, Vena approached Cole. You don't have the strongest weapons, she said. You don't have the fastest ships, but you fight with something different. Cole looked at her. You mean grit? Grit? It means never quitting. Fighting even when it hurts. Pushing forward no matter what. Vena thought for a moment. Your kind is strange. You bleed easily. You break easily. But you don't stop. Cole nodded. That's what makes us dangerous. The final test was hand-to-hand combat. A Xynar champion stepped into the ring. Over 7 feet tall, armored, and fast. Cole stepped in to face him. The aliens laughed quietly. It didn't seem fair. But the match began. The champion charged. Cole dodged. Hit once, slipped behind, struck again. He used speed, balance, and experience. He didn't try to overpower the alien. He outsmarted him. The fight ended with the Xynar on the floor, breathless. Cole stood over him and offered a hand. Good fight. The champion took it. The alien spectators were silent. Then slowly, one by one, they clapped. It wasn't mocking. It was respect. Later, back in the observation room, Commander Dravak spoke to his officers. We underestimated them. They are not the strongest, one said. But they are something else. They are the storm, Dravak said. They think with freedom. They move with purpose. They value each other and they never quit. He turned to Vena. What do you see in them? She answered honestly. I see a threat, but I also see a lesson. As Cole prepared to return to Earth, Vena walked beside him. You've shown us something today, human, she said. Cole raised an eyebrow. What's that? Why your kind survived so long. Why you're still standing even when everything is against you, he smiled. It's not about standing tall, it's about getting up when you're down. Back on Earth, Cole reported everything to General Harper. They tested us, sir, he said, but I think we tested them more. Harper nodded. Good. Let them wonder. Let them worry. And far above Earth in the stars, the Xenar Empire held quiet meetings, realizing that they were not facing just another species. They were facing humans, and humans didn't scare easily. Back aboard the Xenar flagship, Commander Dravak stared at the giant screen in front of him. It showed Earth, blue, green, white, so peaceful from space. But Dravak knew now, peace was only on the surface. Inside, Earth burned with something dangerous. He had seen it in the eyes of the human soldier, in the way Sergeant Cole fought, and in how humans never backed down, even when outnumbered or outgunned. Commander, said his chief intelligence officer, we've collected more data. You should see this. Dravak nodded. The officer tapped a control panel. The screen changed. It showed clips, real footage of Earth's past wars, battles, explosions, humans fighting other humans, sometimes over land, sometimes over ideas, sometimes for freedom. The aliens were silent as they watched. They saw soldiers charging into fire. They saw civilians protecting each other during bombings. They saw broken cities rise again, stronger than before. Why would they fight each other so much? One, Xenar asked. The intelligence officer replied, they have a long, complex history, but every time they fall, they get up again. Dravak leaned forward. The screen now showed scenes from ancient wars, swords, shields, arrows, then tanks, missiles, drones. Humanity had moved from sticks to space in only a few thousand years. No other species advanced this fast, said the officer. Their growth came through hardship. Pain made them stronger. The next file was a report. Title: Patterns of Human Resistance. Humans don't give up. The report read, even in hopeless situations they continue. Even when their leaders fall, others rise. It showed an example from a war long ago. One country was invaded. The army was crushed. But instead of surrender, the people formed small resistance. Groups, farmers, teachers, even children. They fought in the shadows. They fought with anything they had. It took years, but they won. The room was silent again. These people, whispered one officer. They don't need orders to fight. They just choose to. Commander Vena entered the room. She had been studying human psychology. I've read their books, she said. Watched their films. They admire bravery. Not just strength, but sacrifice. They tell stories of heroes who die for others, even for strangers. Dravak turned to her. And what do you think of them? She took a breath. I think they are the most dangerous species we've ever met. Not because of what they have, but because of what they are. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Sergeant Cole sat in a classroom at the base. Not to teach, but to listen. A military historian was speaking to a small group of soldiers. Our greatest weapon, said the historian, is not our guns. It's our memory. We remember the past so we can learn, so we don't repeat the same mistakes. Cole nodded. He had seen battlefields. He had seen the pain and the strength of his people, and he knew something many aliens still didn't understand. Humans fight not because they want to, but because they have to protect, to survive, to live free. High above, the Zynar Council held a secret meeting. Several commanders had gathered, some in person, some through holograms. The room was dark, the air tense. "We plan to conquer Earth in weeks," one said. "Now we are unsure." Another replied, "Their weapons are weaker, their numbers are small, but their spirit, impossible to crush." One council member stood. "I read their history. I saw their pain. I saw their victories. They are not just soldiers. They are survivors." Another voice added, "And they are united when facing a common enemy. That makes them even more powerful." Dravak watched, quietly. Then he spoke. "We came here thinking we were hunters, but now, I fear we've woken something ancient, something fierce. The Zynar Empire had crushed many worlds, but those species had bowed. They had cried. They had begged. Humans didn't beg. They fought. And when they couldn't fight, they hid. And when they couldn't hide, they found new ways to fight. This truth shook the Empire at its core. Commander Dravak sent one final message to his soldiers stationed near Earth. "Do not provoke them further. Do not underestimate their past. You are looking at a species that made war into an art, and survival into a promise." The Zynar soldiers on Earth received the message with quiet fear. For the first time, they looked at humans with caution, not pride. Inside one Zynar research lab, a young alien cadet looked through a file on a famous human battle. It showed how human soldiers held a mountain pass against thousands. They were outnumbered, but they didn't run. They fought until the last man. The cadet turned to his mentor. "Why didn't they escape?" he asked. His mentor replied softly, "Because their mission was more important than their lives. That's what makes them different." As more files came in, Zynar scholars, warriors, and tacticians began to study human wars not to defeat them, but to understand why they kept winning. And what they discovered wasn't a secret weapon or magic. It was a mindset. Humans refused to lose even when they lost. They rose again. Even when they died, others stood in their place. This is what terrified the Zynar most. Far from Earth, in another galaxy, a rival empire heard whispers of what was happening. They laughed. "Humans?" they said. "Just another species." But the Zynar had already learned the truth, and they had only one warning to offer. Do not test Earth. Do not test humans. Their real weapon is not their guns. It's their soul. The Zynar Empire had learned much about humans from their history and tests, but nothing could prepare them for the true reality of battle on Earth. It was a cold morning in the outskirts of a large human city. Alien soldiers prepared to strike. They expected to finish the fight quickly. Their technology was superior, their weapons deadly. But what they did not expect was the land itself to fight back. The battlefield was not an empty plain or open space station. It was a place full of life, buildings, streets, forests, rivers, and people. Alien troops advanced cautiously. Human soldiers were everywhere, in the trees, on rooftops, in basements. Some were armed, others held simple tools, but all were ready. Sergeant Cole led a small team. His orders were clear: defend the city at all costs. "Stay sharp," he said. "Watch every corner. The enemy will try to rush in, but they don't know this ground like we do." The team nodded. The aliens fired first. Powerful energy weapons lit the sky, but humans moved quickly. They dodged behind walls, slipped through alleys, and disappeared into tunnels. Alien soldiers tried to chase, but the city was a maze. One alien soldier, Korv, was separated from his group. He found himself alone in an abandoned building. He moved, carefully. Suddenly, a rock flew past his head, smashing a window. Korv turned and saw a young human boy holding a slingshot. The boy smiled and ran away. Korv was confused. Where are their weapons? He wondered. Korv soon found the answer. Everywhere he looked, humans were using the city itself as a weapon. They set traps on the streets. They knocked down walls to create barriers. They used fire, smoke, and noise to confuse the enemy. Corv was trapped in a narrow street. From above, humans threw buckets of water mixed with dirt. The water made the ground slippery. Corv lost his footing. Before he could recover, humans surrounded him. They had no heavy weapons, only knives, clubs, and determination. Corv fought, but the humans overwhelmed him. Back with Sergeant Cole, the battle grew fierce. The aliens' technology was powerful, but the humans' will was stronger. Engineers repaired broken walls. Doctors tended to the wounded. Farmers and workers carried supplies to the front lines. Everyone was part of the fight. During a break, Cole met an older man named Jacob. Jacob was not a soldier, but a farmer. He carried a homemade weapon, a long spear tipped with metal. "I've never fired a gun," Jacob said, "but I'm here to protect my home." Cole smiled. "That's why we fight. Not because we want war, but because we want peace." Jacob nodded. The aliens launched a stronger attack. They called in airships, drones, and heavy weapons. But the humans did not run. They had learned to fight without fear. They had learned to use everything around them as a weapon. In the forest near the city, human soldiers hid among trees. They set traps with ropes and nets. When alien troops moved through, the traps caught many. Some aliens were injured and had to retreat. The forest became a deadly maze. The alien commander, Dravak, watched the battle through his ship's screen. He saw his soldiers fall one by one. He saw humans who were not trained soldiers fighting beside professionals. He saw children carrying water to wounded fighters. He realized something powerful. "Technology alone will not win this war," Dravak said to his officers. "It is their heart and spirit that make them strong." One officer asked, "But how do we defeat something we cannot break?" Dravak looked thoughtful. "We must learn from them," he said. Meanwhile, Sergeant Cole received new orders. "Hold the city until reinforcements arrive," his commander said. Cole gathered his team. "We've faced worse," he said. "Stay calm, stay smart." They spread out again, moving through the streets like shadows. At night, the humans gathered. They shared food and stories. They sang songs to remember loved ones. Even in war, they kept their hope alive. The aliens tried a surprise attack during the night, but humans were ready. They used lights and noise to confuse the enemy. They fought with everything they had. The attack failed. Corv, the alien soldier trapped earlier, was found by other Zynar troops. He told them what he had seen. "The humans are not just fighters," he said. "They are survivors. They use everything, the land, the people, the city, as weapons." The battle lasted for days. The aliens suffered heavy losses. The humans, too, paid a high price, but they never stopped fighting. Finally, the alien forces retreated. They had learned a hard lesson. The human will to fight was stronger than any weapon. Back on Earth, Sergeant Cole and his team watched the enemy leave. They did not cheer loudly. They knew the fight was far from over, but they felt proud. They had protected their home. Commander Dravak sent a message to all Zynar forces. "Earth is not an easy target," he said. "The humans fight with their whole being. To face them is to face a storm. Prepare for what comes next." And so, the war for Earth continued. But one thing was clear. Humans were not just warriors. They were fighters born from struggle, and they would never give up. The battle had ended, but the war was far from over. Both sides had suffered losses, but something important had changed. The aliens no longer saw humans as weak or easy to defeat. They saw something different, something powerful. Commander Dravak sat quietly in his command room. He looked at the stars outside his ship and thought about what he had learned. Humans were not just fighters because of their weapons or technology. They fought because of their heart, their will, their spirit. Dravak called for a meeting with the Galactic Federation's Peace Council. He sent a message to Earth, offering a chance for peace. "We wish to meet," the message said, "not as conquerors, but as equals." On Earth, the message was received with mixed feelings. Some people were afraid. Others were hopeful. Sergeant Cole was one of the first to hear. He stood before his team and said, "This is our chance, but we must be ready for anything." The aliens arrived on Earth, not as soldiers, but as guests. Commander Dravak met with General Harper and Sergeant Cole. They spoke honestly. Dravak said, "We came here to take your planet, but we found something we did not expect." General Harper nodded. "You found humans who fight to survive, who fight to protect what they love." The meeting ended with a promise. Earth would join the Galactic Federation as a respected member. Not a colony, not a subject, but a partner. As the aliens left, Sergeant Cole walked through the city streets. He saw people rebuilding homes, children playing, farmers tending fields. Life was returning. A young alien soldier named Corv stood beside him. Corv said quietly, "I once thought humans were weak." Cole smiled. "We are not perfect, but we never give up." Corv looked at the sky. "You taught me that strength is more than weapons. It is in the heart." News of the peace spread across the galaxy. Other alien empires watched closely. They whispered warnings to each other. Do not underestimate Earth, do not challenge humans. Back on Earth, life continued, but people remembered the battle. They honored those who fought and died. They told stories of courage. They taught the young to be strong, not just with weapons, but with spirit. One evening, Sergeant Cole stood by a quiet lake. He looked at the stars and thought about the future. He knew there would be challenges, but he also knew humanity was ready to protect their home, ready to face the universe. The galaxy had learned an important truth. Humans were the deadliest warriors, not because of machines or weapons, but because they fought with everything they had, with heart, with courage, with hope. And so the story of Earth and its people was just beginning, a story of strength, survival, and honor, a story the universe would never forget.